Brian MacLellan, you have a team that made an 11-point improvement year over year, made a mad dash to the Stanley Cup playoffs, but were also swept in round one. What did you learn about your team this past season?
Yeah, I think it's, the sweep, the 4-game sweep is a little bit disappointing, but I think overall, with what went on during the year, I think we're proud of what our team accomplished at the end. I think it was a big accomplishment to get in the playoffs. And, I think a lot of our young players gained some important experience by playing in those games.
Mm-hmm. What do you think made Spencer Carbery ready to jump right in at the NHL level?
He's a good coach. I think he's mature. I think he's really worked hard at becoming a good coach. He's paid his dues. He's an intelligent guy. I think he does well with young players, motivating, communicating, improving young players. And I think he has the ability to relate to older players too. He's done a good job with our veteran guys. Unique ability for a younger player or a younger coach to handle both young and older players, which I don't think a lot of people have.
I was going to say, especially important with the makeup of your roster, right?
Yeah, I think we're extreme at both levels. I think we got an older group at the top that's been successful here for a long time. And then we're trying to, inject some younger guys, some of our prospects, and they're finding their way, into the NHL and learning what they can be. And I think he's provided really good guidance for both those sets of guys.
Is there something to be said about presence? Like when I watch Spencer Carbery, he has this it thing to him. When he speaks, you want to listen.
Yeah, I think he's energetic. I think he's, I call it an emotional intelligence where he reads players, he reads rooms, he reads the situation of where your team's at, and, pushes the right buttons, says the right things. I think for me watching, he has the ability to say the right things that it makes sense to the players. And I think it's important. So if you're sitting in the room and he addresses something, it seems to always make sense. It's not just a raw emotion or saying something to say something. He's a good communicator in that aspect.
And it's authentic too, right?
Authentic, yes. Very authentic, yeah.
Mm-hmm. One of the big things watching your team year over year, did we maybe... And I don't know how this would have been possible given his stature in the league, but did it speak to the importance of John Carlson?
Yeah, I think we noticed it last year when he got hit with the puck in the head. Our team was actually going pretty well up until that point. He went down and it took a lot of life out of our team. I think he drives our team from the back end. He's good offensively, he's good defensively. Does a great job jumping into play, does a good job on both specialty teams. So it's a big part of our success has to be when he's playing well.
Mm-hmm. And he's also part of that sort of, you mentioned the mix between the two extremes. You've got some vets that are huge pieces to your team and guys that you're trying to assimilate that are younger. What does this mean moving forward? I was really struck by your comments at the trade deadline. Like you said, look, we're looking to the future of this team and this organization. I'm not sure then you knew that you'd make the push to make the playoffs. Does that change anything? A lot of people from the outside see the Caps as a team that might be kind of stuck in the middle of that ground.
Yeah, I don't think it changes. We're looking to add young guys. I think if we're going to be successful, our young guys got to get to the next level. I think Marty Ferry-Arvy has to get to the next level. Sandin has to. McMichael, LaPierre, we got Miroshnichenko needs to make our team. All these young guys are going to drive performance. We're going to be as good as these guys as we develop these guys. That's going to be the important aspect of our team. And, we're going to finish up, we'll see how Ovi does here over the next couple of years. Carlson, we have 2 more years. And then, we're going to have to add, obviously, through free agency or trades to be a competitive team in the future.
Does it also place added importance on the draft and making sure that you're hitting on, you always want to hit on your picks, but I watch a team like Dallas that was able to turn things over from sort of, one era and age group of your team to the next one. Almost no one can do that seamlessly, but if you're able to hit, Ryan Leonard's a great start, for example, but if you're able to do that, it's really a huge boost.
Yeah. And I think, we have a pick here at 17 this year. Like I said, Miroshnichenko has to turn out for us. Leonard has to turn out for us. Hopefully Crystal turns out for us. Chesley on the back end, Iorio on the back end. I mean, if we can hit on a lot of these, I think we'll be successful moving forward.
Crystal had a huge season this year. What about Ryan Leonard? Have you made a push to try and get him? I mean, there's been some, ground moving, of course, with BC and Will Smith going with the Sharks. Did you make a push to get Leonard, or is that still an option?
I mean, we talked to him a couple times. I think we have let the decision be up to him. He's more comfortable, and his representatives are more comfortable him staying in one more year. But we did give him the option. If he chose to come out, we'd be more than willing to have him on our team.
Yeah, what a huge boost that would be. Never going to be hurt, though, staying for one more year of college hockey. Speaking of status of some of your roster players, what's the latest with TJ Oshie?
It's to be determined. I think, TJ's taken some time. He's talked to a number of specialists. I think he's looking for a degree of certainty of, can he come back and play a full season? I think the last 3-4 years have been pretty taxing on him. I think if you watch the way he's played and, had, big pockets of time off with the injury and recovery, I think it's been hard on him physically, emotionally, hard on his family. So I think it's, is there a solution? If there isn't a solution, we'll work with him and see if we can find some certainty for him and figure it out here in the end.
Certainty is probably the key word for you too. I mean, It wasn't that long ago that you were saying the same thing about Nick Backstrom and basically just saying, I need some kind of convincing that this guy is going to be able to do this for a full year. It's the player's choice, of course, but to get to November and then decide that you can't do it, that doesn't help the Washington Capitals because you'd be able to go out and spend that money now.
Yeah, it's, timing is a factor in all of this for the organization and for the player. So I think it's, we can find, whether we have a solution or we don't have a solution, the sooner the better it works.
Mm-hmm. You've made one of the biggest acquisitions of the offseason so far in a deal that hasn't closed yet, but has been agreed to with CapFriendly. It's been such a big resource for fans, for media, I'd argue even for teams that do a lot of their business based off of some cap-friendly numbers. What went into the decision to go after something like that, and how do you see that helping the Caps?
Yeah, I think it's, I think we've spent a lot of time. We end up using CapFriendly quite a bit internally. We have our own system. So at some point we got to the point in internal discussion of what would happen to us if CapFriendly went away. We need to either make our part of it better, more friendly, that, we want something similar to CapFriendly to use internally. And so we've had this discussion over the last couple of seasons. And, during the last season, we started, we got in contact with CapFriendly, talked to their guys, more or less trying to educate ourselves on whether we could put the time and resources into it. And eventually the discussion got around to, maybe it makes more sense for us to purchase CapFriendly and hire the people involved because they've done such a great job with that interface that everybody uses. So it probably discussion lasted for over a year. And then we ended up making a decision, coming into agreement with those guys. And I think the other important point is we wanted to build off his interface, and we needed someone that could do that. And they have a great experience doing it. They've done a great job. We have a relationship with a couple of these guys now. And so we think we can build off that, incorporate some of our analytics stuff, and build a pretty good interface that we can use going forward.
Yeah, it's going to be such a huge advantage. Shout out to Jamie Davis, one of the co-founders and big brains behind it. You acquired Jamie and his brothers to help come on your staff. I mean, you could hire Brian, the best developer on the planet, go out and, pluck him from Silicon Valley and pay him $1 bajillion. But the odds that developer knows hockey as intimately as these guys do, to be able to smash those two things together and continue to build on what you're building internally, that's a huge win.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, those guys are passionate about what they do, obviously, because the energy and effort they put into that website. So we feel good about having them on our staff. Plus, they know the league, they know the players, they know the CBA. It's invaluable in our mind, and we're pretty happy we got to acquire them.
Yeah, I love that for you guys, but I hate that for the rest of us.
Yeah, I know.
We're gonna have to find a new resource. So well done by you. Just want to chat quickly about Alex Ovechkin. Obviously, a very strange year for him. 8 goals at the All-Star break, and is an absolute beast. What we normally expect from Ovechkin down the stretch. What changed, and were you worried at all?
Yeah, I don't know what changed. I mean, that's a good question. I mean, we've asked. I don't know that he knows what's changed. Came back from break and seemed to have a little more energy in his game. I think the start of the year was tough. There was, some transition in our lineup with Backstrom leaving. We had some... we were looking for Kuznetsov to provide a little bit more for us at that point, or we needed him to, and it wasn't happening. So I don't know that I have an answer for you, Frank, except that, in the end, he came up with 32 goals, led our team in scoring goals, and ended up having a pretty good year overall. While there was some inconsistencies in there, I think, it's probably a reflection of how we were as a team also. We had some good stretches, but also had some weak stretches too. So I don't know that that's more on him or more on our team or a combination of both.
Mm-hmm. Aside from Ovechkin getting hot down the stretch, Charlie Lindgren was also unbelievable for you. Does that change your picture of the goalie situation moving forward, or are you comfortable with where it's at with both Lindgren and Kemper heading into next year?
Yeah, I think we're comfortable. I know Kemper didn't have a great year this year, but I anticipate he'd have a good year going forward. Charlie obviously had a great year. I think it's, Charlie's competitive. Kept us in a lot of games, really played well when we were in close games this year too. His competitiveness comes through in those games. I think we're open going forward here. I think if it's going to be a competitive situation between the two, and we'll let it play out and make decisions based on play of both players.
The flip side of that, though, is that would also make Lindgren with his contract super valuable if you ever wanted to go down that path.
Right.
Would that be something you'd consider, or would you
we
more
would
likely
consider it, yes.
Okay.
I think we value what he's brought to our team. He adds in the locker room, he adds on the ice, and he's forced himself into being a big part of what we have going.
No doubt. So I'll leave you with this, Brian. We talked about some decisions that you need some inputs, right? You need an answer from TJ Oshie, for instance, but how aggressive should we expect the Washington Capitals to be over the next few weeks with the draft and free agency? Are you going to be trying to, continue to reshape this team and what it looks like, or are you going to lean more towards some of the young pieces stepping up?
I think a combination of both, Frank. I think we'd like to leave room for our young guys to continue to improve, but we'd also like to add. I mean, if we can get aggressive and find a guy that fits what we want to do, I think we'll do that. We'll look for opportunities to do that.
Awesome. Brian MacLellan, thanks so much for your time, and best of luck in the next couple weeks.
Thank you, Frank. Thanks for having me.
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Seravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe button.